I grew up on a street where, though there was a sense of community, people lived their lives as they chose. It was nothing to leave in the morning and come back at the close to night, of course, before the streetlights came on, because you've been riding your bike throughout the neighborhood. Sharing was commonplace. And it was nothing to go to the next door neighbor to ask them for a cup of sugar. In the street where I grew up, on the street where I grew up, there were many lessons that would unfold, and I wouldn't learn them until on the street where I grew up, there were many lessons that would unfold, and I'd learn the value of them later in life. Hi, I'm LaTonya. Welcome to my channel, and I look forward to encouraging you. I'd like to share with you a story from the street where I live. It's about a gentleman that lived there. His name was Mr. Jackie Lodi. Now, back in those days, everyone that we addressed was Mr. or Miss. That was commonplace. So Mr. Jackie Lodi lived on the end of the block. He very much kept to himself. But he grew huge sunflower seeds. How do I know that? Because they peered over his fence. They peered over the fences, and we were able to see that. Also, the corn stalks grew, and corn stalks were tall, and I'm familiar with corn stalks because we grew corn. So one day, we saw Mr. Jackie Lodi out there, and he had one of those old trucks. Was it a Chevrolet? You know, the big front, the bulbous cab, and the back, you know, the open thing. The kids can ride in the back end without a helmet and without seat belts. And we were hoping when we got those rides that they'd hit a bump and we fly up and in. Well, he had one of those. And one sunny day, we saw him out there painting his car. No, his truck. Get that right. Painting his truck. But he had regular paint, gloss paint. And I didn't know it was gloss at the time. Let me change that. He had regular red paint, and he was painting his truck. Now, the neighborhood kids and I, you know, we'd be out on the street playing, whether it's frisbee, whether it's dodgeball, whether it, you know, whatever it was. And we'd see him out there. I overheard some of my people say, "Oh, Jackie Lodi is out there messing up that car. You don't know what he's doing." I'm not going to tell you who said that because I'm going to protect those names. But when I looked at it, I thought the same. Because where do you normally go to get your truck or car painted? You take it to an auto painter and they have special paint and they paint the car or truck, as it were. But Mr. Jackie Lodi, every day he would come out, and I mean, it looked horrible. Now, I didn't know at that time that that was prime. But one day I decided I was going to find out. You know, because everybody kept talking about it. And I said, well, why don't you just ask Mr. Jackie Lodi what he's doing? And they were like, now these are the kids, right? They're like, you ask. I said, all right. So I walked up to the door. No, I'm sorry. I walked up. That's a different story. I walked up to his truck when he was painting. I had two very pivotal interactions with Mr. Giacolotti. But I walked up to his truck and I said, "How you doing, Mr. Giacolotti?" And he said, "I'm fine. How are you?" I said, "I'm well." And I said, "Mr. Giacolotti, what are you doing to your truck?" And he said, "Well, I'm painting it." And I said, "But Mr. Giacolotti, that's just house paint, isn't it?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, but that's a truck. So shouldn't you take this to a shop?" And he said, "Well, most people do, but I'm not." Now I was interested, more so then. And I said, "Well, why are you not taking it to the shop, Mr. Giacolotti?" And he said, "Well, because I don't need to. They're going to charge me a lot to do what I can do. But for me, it's going to take a lot of time, just a little time." I said, "But Mr. Giacolotti, the way it's looking, it's going to take a long, long time." And he said, "Well, I'm going to do it." And I said, "So you're just going to paint?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "And Mr. Giacolotti, you think it's going to work?" He said, "I do." He said, "You watch, okay?" I said, "All right, Mr. Giacolotti. I hope it works." I said, "I'll see you later." And of course, he laughed. And he said, "See you later." Now, we watched Mr. Giacolotti out there working on his truck continually. Turns out, I think he put about 2 coats of prime. Now, I know that now, but I didn't know that then. All I knew is that he was driving that truck and it looked pink and blue and spots. And I thought, oh no, Mr. Giacolotti, it's not working. One day, I saw him out there painting and he was putting the gloss on. Again, I wouldn't have known that then. I just knew that it has changed. Mr. Giacolotti, I saw him driving down and I said, "Look at Mr. Giacolotti. Looks like he did it." And I think he had maybe about a few more coats of, glossy paint to put on. So I called him when he was adding another coat. We were out playing and I went down. I said, I just told him, "Mr. Giacolotti." He said, "Yes." I said, "You did it." And he burst out laughing. I said, "Good job. You did it." He said, "You like it?" I said, "It looks nice." And I told him, I said, "You did it and we didn't think you could." He said, "I know, but I knew I could." I said, "Mr. Giacolotti, you did it and it looks really nice." And he said, "Thank you." Of course, I'm back to playing. That incident, or those series of incidents and connections came to me and reminded me, and I want to encourage you, that what has been given to you to do, you continue to do it. Others will not be able to see the beauty in the end of what you're doing because you're polishing it. Some of us on the outside, we can only see the dust. We can only see the rust. We can't even fathom the shape of the vision that you have. But when you've been given direction to do something, It is not for others to see. It is for you to believe and continue moving on. If you have to start with primer, and that gets pretty ugly, but the purpose of it is so necessary, right? Those of us who paint or know about it, I have painted. And I've painted when I should have put primer on. And what did that mean? I had to put so many more coats and waste time and money. And in some instances, rust rot or anything came through. So you build this thing, your vision. You continue to paint it, sand it, rough off those edges. Allow Christ to do that for you. You sand it down, you blow that dust off, and then you go to painting it again. Because eventually, those who are standing on the side watching, some who are just amazed that you're trying it, some who look down on you because that is not how it's done, others who are captivated because it never entered their mind to try it, and the others who sit there and say, that's pretty fantastic. I hope he or she does it. They all will see when it's time the fullness of your faith and your belief and your work, and to bring it about the vision that's been given to you. Now I understand what Mr. Jackie Lilly said. I see it. So you see your vision. And don't let those people stop you. Don't let them one bit take away the joy that you have in doing what you're supposed to do. You be like Mr. Jackie Lilly. Intentional, focused, dedicated. And God was sent along little encouragers like I was at that time to ask what you're doing. Well, I never heard of that. You think you can do it? Well, I hope so. Just know that there are those in the wings that are cheering you on. Because when you fulfill what you're supposed to do, that encourages us. I want to thank you for taking time to listen. And I'm signing off. And just remember, your daddy loves you today. Bye now.